Explain like I'm 5. Why do American restaurantsbars require you to sign the receipt? Title: As a European, I never encountered this in any country other than the US. They do not require it. Even if you do not sign, you will still be charged. They would highly prefer you to sign it, so that there was proof you reviewed the charges and are quite literally signing off on them. Not signing, though, won't get you out of paying. All it means is that the business can charge you exactly what the total was. That is, no additional tip, etc. If there is a later dispute about a charge, then the signature offers proof that you reviewed and approved the charges. In the UK, over a certain amount you have to type your PIN into the machine, which is effectively signing the receipt. The US uses chip and signature while the rest of the world uses chip and PIN. An artifact of the original US desire to prevent any big bank from getting too much control. The decentralized banking system has slowed down access to things that the rest of the world takes for granted. They want you to handle the receipt so that you can include a large tip on your credit card. If it weren't for tipping, they'd just hand you your card back and walk away. This question isn't about restaurants, it's about credit cards. Pay at a restaurant with cash and there's no signing involved. Wait, American have to sign receipts? TF? I was in Ireland last week and had to sign receipts in restaurants and gas stations. I suspect for both of us, it's because the relationship between the banks isn't very close, and they require the added assurance. It's a tipping thing. To verify the tip, other merchants just do it 'cause they don't know any better not to when there is no tip on the bill. Visa removed the signature requirement some time ago. Signature is at the merchant's discretion. I literally scribble some not legible nonsense on anything I ever sign. It never looks the same. Signing the credit card receipt indicates your intention to pay the credit card bill. It also is where you tip the waiter. I never sign with my signature. It's leftover from a long time ago and hasn't been legally required in the US for a very, very long time. It has zero legal significance. I usually draw a little picture or smiley face, or sometimes if it's digital, just a single dot. By the way, there's also no reason to sign the back of the card. Again, it's just a relic from long ago. The signature shows that you are the one that approved the charge and filled in the tip section. In the event the cardholder later disputed the charges, they swipe your card before you add a tip. You then add a tip to the receipt and sign. They then put through the transaction with the additional amount. The signature proves you sanctioned that additional amount. It's pretty arcane but kinda necessary due to the tip culture in the US. It's not American restaurants. It's your credit card company's policy for foreign charges. I never sign anything here in the States, but on my visit to Switzerland I had to sign everything. In the event of a dispute, the restaurant uses the signature as part of their assertion that SO&SO did actually authorize this charge. Within the EU, I imagine chip and PIN kind of makes that sort of verification redundant. In the US, this was required by credit card companies for many years. Even though it added zero security, many point-of-sale systems still print the signature line on receipts or require a digital signature. So there's zero downside from the vendor for obtaining the signature. I cringe when US restaurant servers insist on taking my card and disappear to some machine in a back room. So much more secure to use the handheld little machines at your table where you can tap with the card or your watch and it generates a little safety code. Okay, but why do I have to sign when I use the chip and not have to sign when I use the tap? Functionality? I think it's part so there's proof you've reviewed the bill, and part card authorization, which isn't necessarily needed anymore. America didn't really take to chip and pin like other countries and instead opted to hold on to swipe, magstripe and sign, or use chip and sign payments. It all depends on the establishment. Chip and pin is accepted at most places in the US. Newer restaurants and chain restaurants have the payment system at your table. A small or cheap place is not going to have that until what they currently have breaks. The US was slower to adopt this technology because of our banking structures. But we have pretty much fully come around at this point. You can literally just put a smiley face instead of signing your name because it doesn't matter. If you use an American-issued card in Europe, you'll often have to sign above a certain amount, €50 in my experience. They are still in third world country mode and haven't figured out wireless credit card machine. Because using a PIN, as Europeans have been doing for years, is apparently too difficult to expect the average American to understand. Drives me nuts every time we go to Europe. For the same reason that you need to enter your PIN on the machine in Europe. X200B. The signature proves that you used your card. In most US restaurants, the payment machine is integrated into the POS point of sale system. In Europe, they are mostly separate machines. In Europe, do you typically have to use a PIN when you use a card? I was under the impression that Europe was ahead of the US on chip PIN, and the US does not generally require a PIN for credit cards. I had to every single time I used my card in Scotland. I think it has something to do with the banks. Back in the day, all credit card transactions required a signature. It was intended as security that this really was your card, rather than one you stole. And the store clerk was expected to compare the signature on the receipt with the one on the card. Over time, we've mostly given up on that for various reasons and replaced that check with a PIN. This is a holdover from those times. Your signature is considered proof that you were there, and you agreed to those charges. It's because American credit cards don't have chip and PIN. We only got chip cards and contactless payment a few years ago, and only use for PIN for debit cards. So your signature is supposed to verify your identity when you use credit. It's because the US doesn't issue PINs for cards unless they're debit cards or certain travel cards. Even the travel cards with PIN have chip signature as a higher priority. You'll almost never be prompted for a PIN in the US unless it is a debit card. Happened a lot to me in England and Italy, though was with an American card. Honestly don't know why myself. Yeah, it annoys me. I'm from Europe, living in the US. I don't like giving the waitstaff my credit card either. In Europe they just come to you with a device, and no signatures. I think in Europe you have PIN codes for credit cards. Not sure the majority of people in the US have that. So signature takes the place of that validation. It's really so you can adjust the total by leaving a tip. If they just took your card and charged you what the meal cost, they could never add on for a tip. You get to choose how much you leave extra for a tip and then sign it, basically saying I confirm this amount I added. The simple reason that still isn't spelled out is how you pay by card. In Europe, they bring you the card machine, and you see the final cost on the machine. If you then tap your card, that is you approving the charge. In the US, the server take your card and walk away with it before coming back with it and the receipt. You don't know what they did with your card while away, so you sign the receipt to say I agreed to this. That means that you can't later come back and say I didn't agree to that charge. If you don't sign it, the waiter can write in whatever tip they want and it's easier to forge. Just a check and balance. I've seen this happen in service industry. Always sign your tip receipt.